You mentioned there about the risk of standards going down because other countries that we're trading with having lower standards and potentially demanding that we lower our standards. Has that happened previously? Historically, have countries like America asked that we water down standards?
I don't know. You'd need to get one of the trade people in to answer that question. So there's been I don't know. There's been a battle between the US and the EU around chlorinated chickens, which is the thing that's getting lots of headlines, and also hormone-treated beef. So World Trade Organization rules say that if you have a product which is substantially equivalent, so they're deemed to be the same, trading on the market, then you have to take it in. Whereas the EU has said to the US, we don't think that we don't want your beef on the EU market because we think it's unhealthy. So this was taken to the World Trade Organization, to a panel, and so the EU argued this stuff's unhealthy. America said, no, it's substantially equivalent. We feed it to our own people, so you need to let it come onto your market. The WTO found against the European Union and said, no, this stuff is substantially equivalent. So the European Union effectively pays America so that it doesn't have to import American beef. Chlorinated chicken is another area where there have been objections from the European Union and particular states about being required to import chlorinated chicken. I think there's a case pending, but it hasn't been decided yet. So yes, there are, having said I didn't know, and there's also GMOs. There's been another case where genetically modified organisms, where the EU had a trade dispute with the US over not wanting to let genetically modified organisms in, and again that went to the World Trade Organization and the EU lost. So yes, there is evidence that countries that have products produced to different standards will use WTO as a way to open up markets. The EU is in a position where it's a large organisation, 28 states, it's a big trade power, so it can afford to stand up to those states. A little state on its own, like the UK post-Brexit, might not have the same kind of power or ability to sort of pay to refuse the right to let products onto its market.
That's a really helpful kind of example that I think captures a lot of the campaigning and the work that 38 Degrees members have been doing in the last few months, certainly the last few years, around the different kind of lenses on Brexit and the different ways in which the kind of settlement we end up with could really set the terms for a lot of the discussions that we have going forward around environment and trade.